Imagine you've just touched down at Zurich Airport. You're expecting the dream, the land of milk, honey, and gold bars. You're expecting a country where the trains run with the precision of a Rolex, and the citizens are all secret millionaires living in a neutral paradise. You think you're entering the wealthiest nation on earth, but you're wrong. You aren't stepping into a paradise, you're stepping into a cul-de-sac. A country that has optimized itself so aggressively for the 1% that it has forgotten how to sustain a life for the other 99%. Behind the pristine facades and the polished cobblestones of Bahnhofstrasse lies a brutal, mathematical reality. The Swiss middle class is running on a treadmill that's set to lethal. The chocolate is still world class, but the math? The math is terrifying. Welcome to the reality of the Swiss decline. Let's play a game. Imagine you're a young professional in Zurich. You've worked hard, you've got your degree from ETH, and you land a great job. You open your first paycheck and your heart leaps, 6,500 Swiss francs. To an American or a Brit, that sounds like a king's ransom. But then the Swiss reality hits you like an avalanche. Welcome to prestige poverty. In Switzerland, the median salary is high, but your purchasing power is a rounding error, because the gap between a high salary and the cost of survival is narrower than a mountain pass. While the world looks at the gross salary, the Swiss live in the net nightmare. In 2024, if you earn 6,000 CHF a month, you aren't rich. You are one dental emergency away from the breadline. We call it smicotization in France, but in Switzerland, it's high-level stagnation. You earn more than anyone in Europe, yet you feel poorer than a baker in Lyon. Why? Because you aren't living in a country, you're living in a high-priced airport lounge where the exits are blocked by your own bills. For a century, Switzerland had a superpower: secrecy. It was the world's vault. If you were a king, a dictator, or a tax-dodging billionaire, Switzerland was your fortress. But that fortress has been breached. The end of banking secrecy didn't just hurt the bankers, it gutted the national soul. Look at the collapse of Credit Suisse in 2023. That wasn't just a bank failure, it was a warning shot that the Swiss safe haven myth is dying. Switzerland doesn't make things the way it used to. While Germany has cars and the US has tech, Switzerland has wealth management. But when the world's wealth is moving to Singapore and Dubai, what happens to the vault? It becomes a museum, an expensive, hollowed-out museum of 20th century finance. The country is over-leveraged on a single industry, banking, that is increasingly irrelevant in a transparent digital world. Ask a Swiss person about taxes, and they'll brag about how low they are. Only 10 or 15%, they'll say. In Switzerland, the government doesn't take your money through the front door of the tax office. They let private monopolies take it through the back door. Take health insurance, Lamal. It's mandatory, it's private, and it is an economic boa constrictor. In 2025, insurance premiums are skyrocketing by 6 to 10% per year, far outstripping wage growth. It's a flat tax that punishes the poor. A billionaire pays the same 400 CHF a month as a waiter. This is the Swiss hidden tax system. When you add up mandatory insurance, the highest childcare costs in the world, and rents that would make a New Yorker weep, the low tax myth evaporates. You aren't being taxed by the state, you're being harvested by the system. Before we get to the debt bomb, a quick reality check. This coffee I'm holding cost 8 Swiss francs. That's about $9. For the price of this one latte, you could hit that subscribe button for free and help us fight the algorithm. Every sub helps us expose the global economy. Now, let's talk about the debt no one mentions. Switzerland has a low national debt on paper, but they are sitting on a geopolitical debt bomb. Switzerland is a neutral island in an EU ocean. For years, they survived on bilateral agreements, a have your cake and eat it too strategy. But the cake is crumbling. The EU is tired of Switzerland's cherry-picking. Trade barriers are rising. Swiss tech and medtech companies are losing their equivalent status. If Switzerland cannot access the single market, its industry dies. And if it joins the EU, its sovereignty dies. It is a strategic dead end. The neutrality dividend is over. In a world of blocks, the US, China, the EU, Switzerland is a tiny, expensive rock standing alone. We think of Switzerland as a magnet for talent, and for mid-level managers it is. But for the disruptors, the geniuses, the next Elon Musk or Sam Altman, they aren't staying in Switzerland. The Swiss culture is one of envy neutralization. Don't stand out. Don't take risks. Don't fail. If you try to start a high-growth tech company in Switzerland, the regulations and the cost of labor will kill you before you finish your first seed round. The result? A golden brain drain. The smartest Swiss engineers are taking their free ETH education and boarding a plane to California or London. Switzerland is effectively subsidizing the American tech boom with its own brightest minds, leaving behind a nation of administrators and compliance officers. The ultimate Swiss pride is their infrastructure. At least the trains work. But even that is cracking. SBB, the National Rail, is facing a massive maintenance backlog. Delays are at record highs. The healthcare system, once the envy of the world, is facing a massive staff shortage because, guess what? Nurses and teachers can no longer afford to live in the cities they serve. When your country becomes so expensive that the people who make it run have to commute 2 hours from France or Germany just to survive, your society is no longer a community. It's a labor camp for the wealthy. If Switzerland is so rich, why is it so sad? Study after study shows that the Swiss are among the loneliest and most stressed people in Europe. There is a psychological weight to living in a perfect country. It's the fading aristocrat syndrome, the fear that the peak has been passed, the obsession with Bundesliga culture, policing your neighbors, making sure the trash is sorted perfectly, ensuring no one breaks the silence. It's a society governed by the fear of losing what they have, rather than the excitement of building what's next. This pessimism kills innovation. It turns a wealthy nation into a stagnant one. Switzerland is a country holding its breath, waiting for the world to realize the gold in the vault might just be gold-plated lead.
So, is Switzerland doomed? Not tomorrow. But Switzerland is a warning flare for the rest of the West. It is the endgame of a specific type of capitalism, one that prioritizes the currency over the people, one that chooses stability over vitality. Switzerland shows us that you can have the highest salaries in the world and still feel like you're drowning. It shows us that a country can be a success on a spreadsheet and a failure on the ground. The next time you see a postcard of the Swiss Alps, look closer. Look at the people in the background. Are they living a dream, or are they just managing a decline in a very expensive, very beautiful cage? Don't let the luxury brands fool you. Switzerland is poorer than you think, not because they lack money, but because they've forgotten what money is actually for. If you want to see who's next to fall, watch our video on the death of the German engine. See you in the next one.